Having uploaded and published our Kindle ebook, you may now wish to create a print-on-demand version of your book. Now, up until fairly recently, I would have automatically gone to CreateSpace to do this, but in future I will be doing it this way. And indeed, by the time you watch this video, CreateSpace might have been entirely merged into the process you're about to see me do. Now, when we go to kdp.amazon.com, we've already listed as an ebook, and we can also list as a paperback. So you've got a choice. You can either start completely from scratch, or what I'm going to do here, because I've already listed my ebook in the previous video, I'm just going to click here, Create Paperback, to talk you through that process. So let's click on the button and see what we're asked to do. Now, the advantage of this is that what Amazon has done is brought in all of the information from my ebook listing, so I don't have to list it all separately. So that's great news. Slightly different fields here. Can you see we've got a prefix and a middle name for the author and a suffix there. We've got slightly more fields here. The description is the same there. We have to say that we own the copyright. We have to put keywords in there, and we have to select our categories. And we have to say here, for a paperback, does it have adult content or not? So if you remember in the ebook, we had to say, is it for middle graders or kids, and stipulate an age range if it had unsuitable content. I much prefer this, where you say, does it have bad language or stuff that's inappropriate for children under 18 years? So you say yes or no, which I think is a lot easier. Now, they also ask you, have you put this on CreateSpace? And then it tells you why this matters. But if you have already put it on CreateSpace, there's a good chance that we're going to have some clash between your books. So you do need to be honest with that. Don't try and cheat the system, because you'll get into bother if you don't answer that correctly. So in this case, it's no. And then I can just click on the Save and Continue button. You'll see just how easy this is. If you went to do this through CreateSpace, you'd have to start this listing all over again from scratch. So here we are. Now, because it's a paperback book, we have to get an ISBN. You don't need an ISBN with digital books. You use what's called an ASIN on your digital books, which is an Amazon assigned number. But for a paperback, you've got to have an ISBN. Now, what I'm going to recommend that you do, if you're new to this and you haven't got immersed in ISBNs and whether you need one and whether you don't, just simply get yourself a KDP assigned ISBN. Just get a freebie. But if you want to use your own ISBN, then you can just pop it in there. ISBN and imprint, which are both things that you have to state or you have to sort out through Nielsen when you get your ISBNs, if you're going to use them. But first timers, you don't need to do this at all. Just get yourself a freebie, just get your book out there and make a start would be my recommendation. We can then set our publication date. So if I just go for today, that's today. And then we've got to choose the kind of paper that we're going to go for. Now, again, this opens up this whole new can of worms, delightful can of worms that you have to learn about when you're creating your books. Now, I like white paper. I've tried cream and I've tried white, and I like white. Other people prefer cream because it feels more like a real book. Really, all you can do with this is you have to... I got one of both done, ordered some trial copies and just decided which one I preferred. That's how I did it. So that's probably what you're going to have to do. But I prefer white, so I'm just going to go straight for white here. And then the other thing is you've got to go and set your book size. Now, this again, it sets all sorts of delightful things going. Now, I put my paperbacks in. I'm looking for I think it's 5x8 I go for, something like that. I thought it was 5x7, but it must be 5x8 I go for. You need to go onto your bookshelves, get your ruler out, and work out what size of book you want. That's how I did it. I thought, well, what's this book going to look like on the shelves? And I got the ruler out and figured out what the best size was for me. We then get into things called bleeds. And this is, this makes me sigh because we're now into design stuff, and bleed is the overlap on the cover that you need. Your designer will talk you through this. We probably touched on it in the cover sections. But Amazon will explain what bleed settings are. It's just a little bit of overspill to make sure that we fill the cover properly when it's printed. So I'm going to put no bleed on there. And then what cover finish do you want? Do you want matte or glossy? Again, I got a matte, I got a glossy. Personally, I like glossy, but a lot of people like matte. Just do what you want, whatever suits you. That's the key thing. And what I would recommend you do is order copies and just hold them, feel them, see what you like, and pitch for that. Next, we've got to upload our manuscript. Now, important thing with this is that, remember, this is going into a printed book. In the way that in the previous video, all I did literally was just upload a flow of text with chapter headings on. I didn't need page numbers or anything like that. The reason you don't need page numbers on ebooks is because, as I demonstrated in the previous video, people can change the print size, they can change the font type, they can change the orientation that they read it at. It's a complete pointless exercise. So long as the text is all formatted properly so that when we blow it up or change font it looks fine, that's fine with an ebook. That is not the case with a paperback book. It has to be formatted so that the book is going to fit on the page size that you've created. You've got to get the page numbers, you've got to have the titles at the top so that your author name is on one page, on opposite pages, and the book titles on opposite pages. We're getting quite complicated here, but the good news is that you could download the template for this with your trim size. So having selected my trim size of 5x8, I can now download the template, bring my book into the doc file, the Microsoft file that Kindle and Amazon will give me, and then I can format it. But let me just warn you, it doesn't come without pain, this. It's quite a hard thing to do. You may feel at this stage that you're better off paying somebody to format the book for you, or if you've got reasonable word skills, you'll be able to figure it out from the template. But it's not something I enjoy. I'm actually getting to the stage I could do it, and it takes me a long time, but I've got to the stage where I think, this is probably something that it would be easier for me to outsource rather than me spending the time to do that. So you've got to make your decisions at this stage. In this case, I've got a book that I've released previously which is already formatted, and you'll see here that we can upload here in doc, docx, HTML or RTF. We're going to most of us are going to be uploading in doc or docx. Here's mine. It's a doc file. This is the formatted version of my grid book. So if I upload that file, we'll wait for that to upload, and then we'll come to the cover creator, which again is slightly different from the ebooks. Okay, so we've uploaded our book. That's all fine. It's asking me for an ISBN. So I'm going to have to click that button to assign an ISBN. If you'll forgive me, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to mess up the system. I'm not going to actually save and publish this book, but you would need to click on assign me a free KDP ISBN. In fact, I am going to have to do it, aren't I? I'm going to just have to delete this book because there we go. It's just given me an ISBN number there. It's as quick as that. I didn't really want to do that because I'm not going to publish this book, but hopefully I'll just be able to delete it at the end. Okay, so the next thing is we've got our script in there. Let's launch the cover creator. Now, once again, you can create covers here if you want to, but please don't, because just get a proper designer on it because they just don't look nice. And I know it's cheap, but you can tell one a mile off. And I don't want to be snobby about this because when push comes to shove, this will get your book published, and I would rather you got your book published than you didn't get your book published. So let's not be snobby about this. But if you do this, please would you at least promise me that you will use something like this, where you upload your Kindle cover to that area, and then you've just got a plain cover at the back there with your author picture, your blurb, and your barcode, and Amazon will create the barcode automatically for you. Please don't sort of get all fancy, or don't use this one because you can tell it's a indie published book a mile off with that pink on there. So this is my preferred format. If you're just going to go very simple cover, you're not going to get somebody to do it for you. And I say I don't want to be all kind of snooty about this, but please try and get the best cover that you can to give your book a fighting chance. In this case, I'm going to upload a cover that I've already had created by a designer, and you'll notice that this is what's called a print ready PDF only cover. You can't upload a JPEG or a PNG for your cover at this stage. So if I get this is my PDF cover, and upload that. Now, again, this is one of the reasons why it's worth paying for a proper designer, because they will do all of this for you. They'll ask you what your cover size is. They'll sort the bleeds out and all of this stuff. Now, I cover that all separately in the covers videos when I'm talking you through the cover options that you've got. But this is one of the advantages of working with somebody who knows what they're doing with covers. They will sort all this out for you. So all you have to do is what I've just done here, which is upload your cover and let somebody else take the strain. Okay. We can now preview the book, and it says it looks like you've made some changes, so hopefully it's going to just let me go through this. Let's click on the button, launch previewer. Yeah, it's going to let me go through it. And this is actually amazing, by the way. This is so exciting. Hopefully this will take you over the hump and the pain of having to format the doc file and sort out the cover, because at this stage we get to see a digital version of our book, and it's very exciting. Okay, so it probably took 4 to 5 minutes to get to this stage. And you'll see that I've got some errors here, which is a little bit annoying. Now, I don't mind too much about this because I've done this in a hurry. So you can see the title that you entered is my book, or the author name you entered is this. And things don't match, and I haven't made any attempt to make any of this the right size. So no worries about this at all. Just treat this as an example because I've just literally busked this. But I just want to show you what it looks like so you get a feel for this. You get your book cover and it looks like this. You see, I haven't allocated the right size for all of this. I haven't got any of this right because this book is a different size. But you can flick through your book like this in this mock situation, and I have actually got all the formatting on the pages correct. So you'll see this looks like a proper book, and you can scroll all the way through your book and see exactly how it's going to look as a real life paperback. Now I go through this, I take ages doing this. I go through it with a fine tooth comb. I'm checking all the width, the indents here. I'm checking the page numbers. I'm checking the tops and the bottoms of the pages. I'm making sure the spacing's okay and satisfactory. It does take, it takes a long time to do this, which is sometimes, if you've got the budget for it, it's worth just getting somebody who knows what they're doing to take a look at this. But you could just go through the way through the book and make sure it's all going to fit on there nicely. And you can see that my text here doesn't go outside this dotted line. This is all because I use the template that is provided for me to do this. I go through the pages one by one, and as you can see, it's very exciting at this stage because it looks just like a real book. Now I know that the book size is wrong and the spine text is wrong. That's all fine. I would have to put that right before it let me actually publish this book. And then we've got these things called margins, gutters and bleeds, fonts, blank pages and pagination, all these things that we've got to get right with the print book. So there is more pain and more technical knowledge involved in creating your own paperback, and you may want to do this a slightly different way, but it isn't that bad. I'll be honest with you, the cover is the worst thing, and my advice on that one is just get somebody who knows what they're doing, because they'll fix all of that for you. They'll talk you through it, they'll fix it for you. Okay, I've had to cheat the system a little bit here because my original cover wouldn't be accepted. So you have to get a cover that is actually accepted. And would you believe, because this fits the trim areas and fits all of the criteria, they actually let me have that cover. They'd let me publish with that cover, which looks awful. But I've just cheated the system, in actual fact, to let me move to the next screen. Interesting here that you can see the summary that it's going to cost us $3.26 to print that book. Now interestingly, I had to change a setting there because originally I had that set. I clicked the wrong button. I'd clicked on colour interior with white paper. I don't want a colour interior. The price went right up and I was trying to figure out why the price was so high. What I actually want is a black and white interior with white paper. So you either want black and white interior with cream paper or black and white interior with white paper. You're going to be paying a lot more if you go for that third option. So that brings down the unit price to $3.26, which is a great unit price because I'm probably going to be selling this at about $5.99. So let's click on the next button now so we can see the next screen here. Save and continue. And this is where we can start to set prices. As with the ebooks, we're going to sell in all territories. I always want to sell in all territories. And at this level, we can start to say, okay, I want to price my book at $5.99, and then I can see the kind of royalties that I'm going to get. Now, this is what really surprised me when I started life as an independent author. I could not believe how tiny the royalties are on a print book. And then you have to say to yourself, well, in the UK, I could probably sell a book of about 50,000 words at about £5.99. That's probably a reasonable price, but with my 60% royalties, we get 60% on the print books here. It's going to cost that much to print it, and then I'm only going to take 88 pence per book. This really shocked me because you've got to be pricing your books at £9.99 to be making any kind of money on them at all. See, £9.99, you go to maybe £7.99, and you're only making £2 a book. Now, you will find, I think it's fair to say most indie authors find that they sell a lot more ebooks and they make a lot more money on their ebooks because they're not having to pay these physical printing prices. But you may say that, well, I actually want to have print books available. You're not going to make a lot of money on them, unfortunately, not unless they're very big books and you're selling them at a high price. And the reality is, you know, $7.99 for a book these days, when you can get them in the supermarket quite cheap. I generally tend to price my print books at $5 or $6.99. I'm taking a tiny little royalty off that. It's barely worth getting excited about. So there's not a lot of profit in it, to be honest with you. And I don't sell a lot of print books, and most indie authors will tell you that print books are only a small part of their business. But I do want to offer my books in print, so I do this. I'm not making a loss, I am making money. And because this is print on demand, it's not like I've got 2,000 sitting in my garage at any one time. So because it's print on demand, we can accept it at those low royalty rates. You'll have to look at the size of the book, the number of pages you've got in the book, and you'll have to decide what the right price is. We could probably squeeze $6.99 out of that. That royalty is looking more exciting now at $6.99. That excites me a little bit more. But, you know, it swings and roundabouts with this. The higher the price, the fewer you'll sell. And it's all right having a great royalty, but if you're selling no books, you're not making any money. So really, you just have to play around with this area to try and get the prices right, make them look attractive to the customers in whatever currency you're in, and then take a look at what your royalties are, and hopefully don't leave yourself with too little royalty. But I think generally what I go for is, I think I'm about $6.99 for a 50,000 word book in the States. So I'm making just short of $1 on that, maybe $6.99 in the UK. But as I say, you don't make a lot of money. Having set the prices then, we are ready to publish our book. It takes up to 72 hours to be available for purchase on Amazon. But if you've managed to match your author name and your title and your series correctly, what will happen is that over time, Amazon will bring your ebook and your paperback book together, so that when people find your book on Amazon, they will get the choice, those little buttons that you get. Do you want to buy it on Kindle? Do you want to buy it in paperback? That brings them together nicely, and they will take care of that. And then the books then will merge with your Amazon author page, and everything works in harmony together. Now, from now on, I will be listing my paperbacks in this way. I will not be using CreateSpace any longer. I will show you how to list on CreateSpace, because it's going to be around until Amazon pull it. But I think this is how we're all going to be listing our paperbacks from now on. So it's probably best that you get used to doing it this way. And I have to say to you now, I don't even recommend that you use the CreateSpace website. Just do it this way and save yourself a lot of time.